The heart monitor's shrill flatline cut through the frozen soul night like a knife through flesh. Starting chest compressions. 3, 2, 1 clear. Precious Oluwatomi's scream tore from her throat as Miho's body jerked violently on the stretcher, ice crystals still clinging to his long black hair. The paramedics worked with mechanical precision, their breath forming clouds in the bitter cold as they fought against death itself. Raised to 250. Clear. His body convulsed again. Nothing. The monitor continued its monotone wail. Precious collapsed to her knees in the snow, her hands instinctively moving to her stomach. 6 weeks pregnant, though she'd never had the chance to tell him. The man who'd saved her, protected her, changed everything she thought she knew about love and danger, was dying in front of her. No, already dead. Pulled from beneath the ice of the Han River where her ex-boyfriend Chaik had buried him alive. Time of death, the lead paramedic announced, his voice heavy with defeat, 0100 hours. No. Precious's voice shattered across the riverbank. No, 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 please. But as the paramedics began to wheel his body toward the ambulance, something impossible happened. Miho's hand shot out with inhuman speed, gripping the paramedic's wrist so hard the man yelped in pain. His eyes snapped open, black, bottomless, and very much alive. Don't, Miho rasped, his voice like gravel scraping against steel. Tell anyone I'm alive. His gaze cut through the chaos, landing deliberately away from where Precious knelt sobbing in the snow. Especially not her. The paramedic's face went white, but he nodded. Miho's eyes closed again, his grip loosening. To anyone watching, it would look like a final muscle spasm. A trick of a dying body. But Precious had seen. She'd seen everything. And she had no idea that this moment, this impossible resurrection, had been set in motion 12 weeks earlier with nothing more than a wrong turn down a hotel hallway. The night Precious ran into the wrong room, her heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. The Seoul Grand Lux Hotel stretched endlessly before her, each corridor identical to the last. Room 1071. That's where her friend Amaka said to meet. Safety. Escape. Away from Chaik's suffocating obsession that had followed her all the way from Lagos to Seoul. She could still hear his voice echoing in her mind from the restaurant downstairs. You can't escape me, Precious. Not in Nigeria. Not here. We're meant to be together. Forever. The way he'd said forever made her skin crawl. Her heels clicked frantically against marble as she ran, glancing behind her every few seconds. The elevator dinged. Her breath caught. She dove for the nearest door, room 1017, and burst through. The door slammed behind her. Silence. Then she looked up. The scene before her seemed to exist in a different reality. A man in an all-black suit stood in the center of the luxury suite, blood fresh on his knuckles, standing over another man tied to a chair. The tied man's face was bruised, swollen, unrecognizable. A gun rested casually on the marble table beside an ice bucket and expensive whiskey, but it was the standing man who made time stop. Tall. Korean. Perhaps 28. Hair swept back except for one strand falling across a face that could have been carved from ice itself, beautiful in a dangerous, untouchable way. Dark eyes that held no warmth, no surprise, no fear. Just calculation. Calm Miho. Though Precious didn't know his name yet. Didn't know he controlled half of Seoul's underground. Didn't know that this chance encounter would bind their fates together in ways neither could escape. They stared at each other for 15 seconds that felt like 15 hours. Wrong room, he said finally. His voice was smooth, accented, cold as the ice in that bucket. He spoke English, somehow knowing she wasn't Korean. I'm so sorry, Precious stammered, taking a step backward. Her hand found the door handle. Bang, bang, bang. Security. Open up. Precious's blood turned to ice. If they found her here, if Chaik found out where she was. Miho's eyes flickered. A decision made in milliseconds. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, his hand covering her mouth as he pulled her behind him, pressing her against the wall beside the door, hidden from view. Don't move, he whispered against her ear, his voice barely audible. Don't breathe. His body was solid against hers, radiating controlled violence. Precious could feel her heart hammering against her ribs. This close, she could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark, mixed with the copper tang of blood. Miho cracked the door open. Yes. We received a noise complaint, sir. Is everything all right? Perfectly fine. My associate had too much to drink. I'm putting him to bed. Miho's voice transformed, smooth, slightly amused, the perfect imitation of a wealthy businessman dealing with an embarrassing situation. We'll need to verify. I'm a platinum member. Room registered under Kong. Check your system. Ice crept back into his tone. Not a request. A command. A pause. Computer keys clicking. Our apologies, Mr. Kong. Enjoy your evening. The footsteps retreated. Miho held position for another 30 seconds before releasing Precious and stepping back. The absence of his warmth left her suddenly cold. She stared at him. This stranger who'd just hidden her from security. This criminal who'd made a choice to protect her instead of exposing her. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Miho walked to the bar, poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey, drank it in one swallow. You saw my face. You saw this. He gestured to the unconscious man with clinical detachment. In my world, that creates a problem. I won't say anything. I swear Everyone says that. He poured another drink but didn't consume it. Instead, he studied her with those calculating eyes. You're running from someone. It wasn't a question. I can see it, he continued when she didn't respond. The way you keep looking at the door. The bruise on your wrist you think makeup covers. The panic in your eyes. He took a step closer. Who is he? Precious instinctively covered her left wrist where Chaik's fingers had dug in 3 days ago. That's none of your business. It became my business the moment you entered this room. Another step. Here's what's going to happen. You have 2 choices. One, you disappear. Leave Seoul tonight. Never come back. I'll ensure you get to the airport safely. And the second choice? You work for me. 6 months. Pay off the debt of what you witnessed here tonight. I'm not a criminal, Precious said, lifting her chin despite the fear coursing through her veins. Something flickered in Miho's expression. Almost like respect. I don't need another criminal. I need a doctor. I'm a medical student, not a... Same thing in my world. My people get hurt. Hospitals ask questions we can't answer. You treat them. 6 months. Then you walk away, and we both forget this ever happened. And if I refuse? Miho's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then the man hunting you finds you by morning. And I won't stop him. He checked his watch. You have 60 seconds to decide. Precious's mind raced. She had 8 months left in her medical residency program. Chaik knew where she lived, where she studied, her routines. She had nowhere to run, no money to disappear. And this dangerous stranger was offering her protection. At a price. 45 seconds. What kind of work? Bullet wounds. Knife injuries. Broken bones. Nothing you haven't studied. Everything you'll never report. That's illegal. Unethical. 30 seconds. Ethics are a luxury for people who have choices. Mississippi. Precious. Precious Oluwatimi. Nigerian. He said it like he was filing away information. 20 seconds. Precious Oluwatimi. She thought of Chaik's text from earlier. Missing you already, my love. See you soon. The way he'd somehow known she'd be at that restaurant despite her never telling him. The app she'd found hidden on her phone, tracking her every movement. I'll do it, she heard herself say. 6 months. Miho extended his hand. Then we have an agreement. His handshake was firm, brief, professional. But when their skin touched, something electric passed between them. A recognition of something neither could name. My driver will take you home, Miho said, releasing her hand and returning to business. Pack essentials. You'll stay in one of my properties until your ex-boyfriend situation is resolved. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., this address. He handed her a business card with nothing but numbers on it. What about him? Precious gestured to the unconscious man in the chair. Not your concern. Miho pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. My driver's name is Gene. Black Mercedes. He'll be downstairs in 3 minutes. Don't make him wait. Precious should have run. Should have chosen option 1. The airport, disappearing, starting over somewhere Chaik couldn't find her. But something about Kong Miho made her stay. Maybe it was the way he'd protected her without hesitation. Maybe it was the tired edge beneath his cold exterior, like he carried the weight of 1,000 secrets. Or maybe she was just tired of running. She took the card. 9 a.m. Don't be late. I don't give second chances. The drive to her apartment was silent. Jean was older, perhaps 50, with kind eyes that seemed wrong for someone in Miho's world. He didn't ask questions, just ensured she got inside safely and waited until her lights turned on before driving away. Precious's apartment had been ransacked. Drawers pulled open. Clothes scattered. Her laptop missing. And there on her bed, written in lipstick across her white sheets, you can't hide from love, Precious. See you soon. See. Her hands shook as she called the only number on the card Miho had given her. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? He was here. In my apartment. Her voice cracked. Address. No. She gave it to him. Lock yourself in the bathroom. Don't open the door for anyone but me. How will I know it? I'll knock 3 times, pause, then twice. 15 minutes. He hung up. Precious grabbed a kitchen knife and locked herself in the bathroom, sitting in the empty tub with her knees pulled to her chest. Every sound made her jump. Every creak of the building settling felt like footsteps approaching. 14 minutes later, knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock. She opened the door to find Miho standing in her destroyed apartment, his face carved from stone. Behind him, Jean was already photographing everything with professional efficiency. Pack a bag, Miho said quietly. You're not staying here. This wasn't part of our deal. The deal changed the moment he violated your space. Miho's voice was still calm, but something dangerous simmered beneath. In my world, when someone crosses a line, there are consequences. You're under my protection now. That means he crossed my line too. I don't need a savior, Precious said, even as her hands trembled. Good. I'm not one. He walked to her window, examining the lock. I'm a businessman. And you're an investment I'm protecting. Jean found 3 surveillance cameras hidden in your apartment. Your ex has been watching you for weeks. The knife slipped from Precious's grip, clattering against the tile floor. Weeks? At least. Miho turned to face her. How long were you together? 2 years. In Lagos. I thought I ended it before coming to Seoul for my residency. But he followed me. He said he got transferred here for work, that it was fate bringing us back together. The words tumbled out. He works for some international company, travels constantly. I thought the distance would help me think clearly, but he just got more intense. More possessive. Then 3 weeks ago I tried to break it off completely and she stopped. He hit you. It wasn't a question. Miho's eyes had found the fading bruise on her cheekbone that makeup couldn't quite hide. Precious nodded, unable to speak. Pack your things, Miho repeated, but his voice had changed. Softer somehow, though no less commanding. Everything you need for a week. Jean will arrange for the rest to be moved to secure storage. Where am I going? Somewhere he'll never find you. The penthouse was not what Precious expected. She'd imagined something cold, modern, sterile, a reflection of Miho himself. Instead, she found warm woods, soft lighting, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, and a kitchen that looked actually lived in. Guest room is down that hall, Miho said, setting down her bags. Bathroom attached. Security system is biometric. I'll program your prints tomorrow. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't go out alone. If you need something, text me. You're staying here too? It's my home. He shrugged off his jacket, and for the first time, Precious saw the full-sleeve tattoo covering his left arm, intricate Korean characters and symbols she couldn't read. I have a job in 2 hours. Make yourself comfortable. Food in the fridge. Don't touch the locked door at the end of the hall. What's behind it? Things that aren't part of our agreement. He headed toward that very door, then paused. Thank you. For what? Not asking stupid questions. Not crying. Not falling apart. His eyes met hers. Most people in your situation would be useless. You're thinking. Adapting. That's good. You'll survive this. Then he was gone, disappearing behind the locked door. Precious stood alone in the penthouse of a Korean crime boss, her entire life reduced to 2 bags, and wondered what the hell she'd just agreed to. The first month was a careful dance of boundaries and breaking rules. Miho kept his distance. Professional. Cold. He left before she woke and returned after she slept. Her instructions came via text. Addresses of underground facilities where injured men waited, supplies she needed, warnings about which members of his organization to trust and which to avoid. Precious treated knife wounds in basement warehouses. Removed bullets in abandoned buildings. Set broken bones in the backs of running vans. She learned to work without asking questions, to keep her hands steady, even when the men she treated had blood that wasn't their own splattered across their clothes. She was good at it. Better than she'd expected. The work was horrifying and necessary, and somehow made more sense than the sterile detachment of hospital rotations. And slowly, the walls between her and Miho began to crack. It started small. Miho coming home to find her cooking jollof rice, her mother's recipe, and pausing in the doorway with an expression she couldn't read. You cook, he observed. You have a kitchen. I assumed it wasn't decorative. She stirred the pot, not looking at him. Have you eaten? A pause. No. Then sit. He did. And for the first time since she'd met him, Kong Miho smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face from ice to something unexpectedly warm. "This is incredible," he said after the first bite. "It's my mother's recipe. She said good food heals everything." Precious sat across from him. "Does it work on dangerous criminals?" "We're about to find out." They ate in comfortable silence. Then Miho started asking questions. About Nigeria. About her family. About why she'd chosen medicine. Precious found herself answering honestly, surprised by his genuine interest. "Your turn," she said finally. "Why this life?" Miho's expression shuddered slightly, but he didn't deflect. "I was 16 when my father died. Left me with debts I couldn't repay through legal means. The people he owed gave me a choice: work for them or watch my mother suffer. I chose work. Turned out I was good at it. Too good. By 20, I'd paid off the debt. By 25, I ran the organization." He finished his food. "Now I'm too deep to get out." "Do you want to get out?" "Does it matter what I want?" "It always matters." Something shifted in his eyes. "No one's ever asked me that before." The late-night conversations became routine. Precious would cook. Miho would arrive home exhausted, sometimes bloody, always careful not to let her see the worst of it. They'd eat together and talk about everything except the violence that funded this strange domestic peace. She learned he played piano beautifully but hadn't touched the instrument in his music room for 3 years. That he spoke 5 languages fluently. That he donated anonymously to children's hospitals across Seoul. That beneath the ice-cold exterior was someone who'd been forced to freeze his humanity to survive. And Miho learned she sang while cooking. That she missed her younger sister terribly but couldn't risk calling home while Chaik might be monitoring. That she'd wanted to be a doctor since she was 8 and her grandmother died because the nearest hospital was too far away. That her laugh, rare but genuine, sounded like music. The night everything changed started innocently enough. Precious was treating one of Miho's men, a young guy named Tae who'd taken a knife to the shoulder during a territory dispute. The wound was deep but clean. She'd just finished stitching when Miho walked in, his shirt torn and blood seeping through. "It's not mine," he said before she could ask. "Sit." "I'm fine." "Sit. Down." She pointed to the chair with the authority of every doctor who'd ever commanded a stubborn patient. Miho sat. Precious peeled back his shirt to reveal a nasty gash across his ribs, definitely his blood. "You said it wasn't yours." "Most of it isn't." "You're impossible." She cleaned the wound, trying to ignore how close she was to him, how his skin was warm under her fingers, how his breathing hitched slightly when she applied antiseptic. "You're good at this," Miho said quietly. "At what?" "Treating idiots who lie about injuries?" "At caring. Even when you shouldn't." Their eyes met. The air between them felt charged, dangerous in a completely different way than violence. "I should go," Precious whispered, but didn't move. "You should," Miho agreed. But his hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing across her cheekbone where the bruise from Chaik had long since faded. The kiss happened like gravity, inevitable, unstoppable. Miho's lips were soft against hers, tasting of whiskey and something darker, more dangerous. Precious melted into him despite every logical thought screaming that this was wrong, complicated, impossible. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Miho rested his forehead against hers. "This is a terrible idea." "The worst," Precious agreed. "You should be with someone safe. Someone who doesn't come home covered in blood." "I should," she said, and kissed him again. They made love that night with a desperate intensity that felt like drowning and salvation simultaneously. Miho was surprisingly gentle, his hands reverent as they learned her body, his voice breaking when he whispered her name. Precious had never felt so seen, so wanted, so terrifyingly alive. Afterward, lying tangled in his sheets, Miho traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "This can't last," he said quietly. "My world destroys everything beautiful. Eventually, it'll destroy this too. Then we make it last as long as we can." Precious turned to face him. "I'm not asking for forever, Miho. Just for now." But her heart was lying. She was already falling in love with this impossible man. The next 3 weeks were stolen moments of happiness wrapped in violence. Miho taught her self-defense in his private gym. His body pressed against hers as he showed her how to break holds, where to strike to disable an attacker. "In my world, hesitation kills," he'd say, his breath warm against her ear. "Don't think. React." Precious started staying in his room instead of the guest room. She learned the geography of his scars. Knife wound at 17, bullet graze at 22, burn mark from a cigarette when he'd refused to give up one of his men. Each mark a story of survival. She told him about her dreams of opening a clinic in Lagos, bringing proper medical care to communities that needed it most. He listened like her words mattered. like her dreams were as important as his empire. They were building something fragile and precious in the spaces between his dark work. Precious knew it couldn't last. Knew eventually reality would shatter their bubble. She just didn't know how soon. It was Jean who figured it out first. Miho's second-in-command appeared at the penthouse one evening, his kind face etched with concern. "Boss, we have a problem." Miho tensed immediately. "What kind?" "The Nigerian. Chaika Konkwo." I ran a deeper background check. Jean pulled out a tablet, his expression grim. "He's not just obsessed. He's Interpol. Anti-Organized Crime Division. He's been investigating you for 18 months. The world tilted sideways. "What?" Precious's voice came out strangled. Jean turned the tablet toward her. There was Chaik's face, her Chaik, or the man she'd thought she knew, in an Interpol uniform. Commendations. Awards. A whole life she'd never seen. "The relationship with you," Jean continued carefully, "it started 6 months before you moved to Seoul. Our intelligence suggests it was deliberate. He needed someone close to Korean communities, someone who might eventually provide access to." "To me," Miho finished, his voice flat. Cold. All the warmth from moments ago evaporated. He was using her as an asset from the beginning. "I didn't know," Precious whispered, staring at the photo. "I swear I didn't." "I know." Miho's hand found hers, squeezed once. "But it means he's been watching this entire time. Waiting. The question is what he's waiting for." The answer came 2 days later. Precious was returning from treating one of Miho's men when she noticed the black sedan following her. Not Jin's careful protection. This was predatory. Threatening. She called Miho immediately. "Someone's following me." Black sedan license plate. "Get to the safe house on Gangnam." "No. I'm sending backup." But before his men could arrive, the sedan cut her off. The door opened. And there was Chaik, looking exactly as she remembered, but somehow completely different. The mask of the loving boyfriend had cracked, revealing the calculating agent beneath. "Hello, Precious. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Get in the car. Or I arrest Kong Miho tonight, and you never see him again." Chaik's smile was cold. "Your choice, baby." Precious got in the car. They drove to an abandoned warehouse by the Han River. Of course it was by the river. Everything in this city seemed to orbit around water. Chaik parked but didn't get out, just turned to face her with that same unsettling smile. "Did you really think I wouldn't find you?" he asked. "I've known where you were since the day you ran into his hotel room. I watched you move into his penthouse. Watched you fall into his bed. Watched you betray everything we had." "We had nothing," Precious said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You built our entire relationship on lies." "I built it on love." Chaik's composure cracked. "I loved you before I knew you could be useful. The assignment was just a bonus. But then you had to ruin everything by running to him. A criminal. A killer. What does he have that I don't?" "Honesty." Chaik laughed, bitter and sharp. "Honesty? He's lied to you about everything he does, everyone he's killed." "No. He told me exactly who he was from the beginning. He never pretended to be something he wasn't." Precious met his eyes. "You made me fall in love with the ghost. Miho let me see the monster and trusted me to choose anyway. Choose him over me?" Chaik's hand shot out, gripping her wrist exactly where he used to bruise her. "After everything I've done for you? I got transferred to Seoul for you. I've protected you from knowing the truth about your precious criminal boyfriend. I've built a case that could put him away for life but held back because I knew it would hurt you. Let go of me. Not until you understand. You're coming back to me, Precious. We're going back to Lagos. Back to our life before he poisoned you against me. And Kong Miho is going to pay for stealing what's mine. I was never yours." Chaik's other hand moved to her throat. Not choking, just threatening. A promise of violence held barely in check. "You've always been mine. Since the day we met. And I'll kill him before I let him keep you." The gun pressed against Chaik's temple came from nowhere, or rather, from Miho appearing through the car window with the silent efficiency of a predator. "Let her go," Miho said calmly, "or I paint the inside of this car with your brain matter." Chaik froze. "You're making a mistake." "My only mistake was not killing you the first time you touched her." Miho's voice was conversational, almost bored, but Precious could see the rage burning in his eyes. "You have 3 seconds to remove your hands." 3, 2. Chaik released her. "Get out of the car, Precious." She scrambled out, legs shaking. Jean was there, guiding her away. wrapping a jacket around her shoulders even though the night wasn't that cold. Behind them, Miho and Chaik faced off in the dim light from the car's interior. "This isn't over," Chaik said. "I have enough evidence to bury you 10 times over." "Then why haven't you?" Miho lowered the gun slightly. "Because you need her testimony. You need her to turn on me, to give you the final pieces." "But she won't. Because unlike you, I never lied about who I was. She'll turn eventually. They always do when they see what you really are." "Maybe. But at least she'll choose to leave, not wake up and realize the last 2 years were a manipulation." Miho stepped back. "Stay away from her. Touch her again. Follow her again. Even think about her too hard, and Interpol will find pieces of you scattered across 3 countries. Are we clear?" Chaik's smile was venomous. "Crystal. But calm? When she's crying over your corpse, remember I gave you this warning. Love makes you weak. And weakness gets you killed." He drove away, leaving them in the cold beside the frozen river. Precious turned to Miho, saw the tension in every line of his body, the way his hands still gripped the gun like he wanted to chase Chaik down and finish what he'd started. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me." Miho's voice was hollow. "He's right. It makes me weak. Vulnerable. Puts you in danger just by existing. Then we end it." His eyes snapped to hers, surprised. "We end it now," Precious continued, even as her heart shattered with each word. "We go back to the arrangement. Professional. I finish my 6 months, then I leave Seoul, leave Korea, disappear somewhere he can't find me. Precious. It's the only way to keep you safe. To keep both of us safe." Miho pulled her against him, his arms wrapping around her like he could shield her from the whole world. "I can't let you go. You have to." They stood there by the frozen river, holding each other as if they could stop time through sheer will. But time, like everything else in their world, couldn't be controlled. What they didn't know was that Chaik had planted the seed of his plan in that confrontation. What they couldn't see was how he'd spent months building a case not just against Miho, but against everyone Miho loved. What they couldn't predict was how far Chaik would go to prove his twisted point about love and weakness. The trap was already set. It took 3 more weeks to spring. Precious discovered she was pregnant on a Tuesday morning. She stared at the positive test, her whole world reorienting around that single pink line. She and Miho hadn't ended things despite their promises by the river. Neither could let go. They'd spent every stolen moment together, building something fragile and desperate, knowing it couldn't last but unable to stop themselves from trying. Now this. Baby. Their baby. Precious sat on the bathroom floor of Miho's penthouse, the test clutched in shaking hands. 6 weeks, maybe 7. Right around the time everything had changed between them. She needed to tell him. Needed to figure out what this meant for their impossible situation. But before she could stand, Miho's phone rang in the other room. She heard his sharp intake of breath, the deadly calm that meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. "When?" Miho's voice carried through the door. "A pause. I'm on my way." He appeared in the bathroom doorway, already pulling on his jacket. His eyes found the test in her hands, and for one moment, his mask slipped completely. Wonder. Fear. Something that looked like desperate hope. "We need to talk," Precious started. "I know. But one of my men was taken. If I don't meet the demands in 2 hours, he dies." Miho crouched in front of her, his hand covering hers over the test. "Is it mine?" "Yes." "Are you sure?" "I haven't been with anyone else since before I left Lagos." "It's yours." Miho's forehead dropped against hers. "I'll be back in 3 hours. Then we figure this out together. All of it. I promise." "Miho, what if this is a trap?" "It's always a trap." He kissed her softly. "But I can't leave my people behind. That's not who I am." "Then let me come with you." "Absolutely not. You stay here where it's safe. Where our baby is safe." His hand moved to her still flat stomach with such tenderness it made her chest ache. 3 hours. "I love you, Precious." It was the first time he'd said it. The last time she'd hear it before everything fell apart. "I love you too." He left. And Precious waited, the test still in her hands, counting down the seconds until he'd return. He didn't return. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Then 4. Precious called Jean, straight to voicemail. Called the numbers Miho had given her for emergencies. Nothing. The penthouse felt like a tomb, beautiful and suffocating. At hour 5, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The video showed Miho on his knees in the snow beside the frozen Han River, Chaik standing behind him with a gun. Her ex's voice narrated like this was a documentary. This is what happens to criminals who think they can steal what belongs to others. This is what happens when love makes you weak. No, Precious whispered, but the video continued. Chike pistol whipped Miho, who barely reacted. His face was already bruised, bleeding. How long had this been going on? Say goodbye to your Horkong. Miho's eyes found the camera. Found her. Precious, don't. Chike hit him again, cutting off his words. Come to these coordinates in 30 minutes. Alone. Or I put a bullet in his head and dump him in the river. The video ended with coordinates. A location. A choice. Precious's hands moved to her stomach. Their baby. Miho had told her to stay safe. To protect what they'd created together. But how could she stay safe knowing he was dying for her? She grabbed Miho's spare gun from his locked drawer. He taught her how to bypass it weeks ago, though he didn't know she'd memorized the sequence. She'd learned that hesitation kills. Learn to react, not think. She drove to the coordinates with Jin's emergency kit in her passenger seat, medical supplies she prayed she wouldn't need but knew she would. The frozen Han River stretched before her like a scene from a nightmare. She found them on the ice. Chike had beaten Miho until he could barely stand. Blood stained the white snow crimson. Her impossible, invincible crime boss looked mortal. Fragile. Human in a way that terrified her. You came, Chike said, sounding almost surprised. I thought maybe you'd choose the baby over him. Precious's blood turned to ice. How did you? I've had cameras in his penthouse for weeks. Watched everything. The sex. The love confessions. This morning's revelation. Chike smiled that terrible smile. Did you really think you could have a life with a monster? Raise a child in his world of violence? He's more human than you'll ever be. Then prove it. Choose. Chike pressed the gun against Miho's temple. You leave with me right now. Come back to Lagos, and this pregnancy, forget this whole nightmare, and I let him live. Or you stay, and I kill him in front of you. Either way, I win. Miho's eyes met hers, and despite everything, he smiled. Blood on his teeth. Run, Precious. Take our baby and run. Don't let him win. Shut up, Chike snarled, striking him again. Precious raised the gun she'd hidden in her coat. Her hands didn't shake. Months of Miho's training, of treating violence, of surviving in his world had changed her. Made her harder. Stronger. Let him go, Chike. You won't shoot me. You're a healer, remember? First, do no harm. You stopped being human the moment you put your hands on him. Her finger moved to the trigger. Last warning. Chike's expression flickered. Uncertainty, then hardened. Fine. We all die together. He pulled the trigger. But Miho moved faster than someone that injured should be able to move, twisting away. The bullet hit ice instead of skull. The frozen surface cracked. Everything happened in slow motion and too fast simultaneously. The ice beneath them splintered. Chike lost his balance. Miho lunged for Precious as the world gave way beneath them. Precious grabbed Miho's hand as he fell through the ice into the black water below. She held on with everything she had, screaming his name, trying to pull him up. But the current was too strong, her grip too weak. And Chike, recovered now, was pulling debris over the hole, sealing it. No. Precious clawed at the ice, at Chike, at anything that would let her reach Miho. The last thing she saw was Miho's face beneath the ice, his mouth forming words she couldn't hear. I love you. Then Chike was dragging her away as sirens approached. Time to go, sweetheart. Let the criminal drown. But Precious fought like she'd never fought before. She'd learned from the best. Her elbow connected with Chike's throat exactly where Miho had taught her. When he released her, gasping, she ran back to the ice, screaming for help, screaming Miho's name. The paramedics arrived to find her trying to break through the ice with her bare hands, fingers bleeding, face streaked with tears and snot and complete devastation. They pulled Miho's body from the water 17 minutes later, which brought them full circle. To the resurrection. To time of death at 0100 hours. To Precious collapsing in the snow, pregnant and shattered, as the man she loved was declared dead. Except he wasn't dead. In the ambulance, away from Precious's eyes, Miho's heart jolted back to life with a gasp that sounded like a scream. The paramedic who'd been preparing the body bag jumped back. Don't tell anyone I'm alive, Miho commanded, his voice raw. Especially not her. Sir, you need immediate medical attention. I was dead for 4 minutes and 37 seconds. I know what I need. Miho's eyes held the paramedics. Tell everyone I died. File the paperwork. I'll handle the rest. Because in those 4 minutes of death, Miho had seen something. His mother, dead since he was 12, standing in a white void. It's not your time, she'd said. She needs you. They need you. Then an image. Precious holding a baby. His baby. Their future. But to protect that future, he needed to die. Needed Chike to think he'd won. Needed to draw out the traitor in his organization who'd fed information to Interpol, who'd made this ambush possible. Yuna, his second in command. The woman who'd loved him silently for years and betrayed him to set Precious free from his dangerous world. The hospital room where they took Miho was secured by Jean, who cried when he saw his boss alive. We thought. I know. That's the point. Miho's body felt like ice and fire simultaneously. Precious. Is she? Safe. Devastated. But safe. Jin's expression darkened. There's something else you need to know. That's when Yuna entered, and the final betrayal came to light. She confessed through tears how she loved Miho since they were teenagers. How she'd given Chike information thinking it would drive Precious away. How she'd never meant for it to go this far. You sent me to die, Miho said flatly. I sent you to lose her. Not to. Yuna's voice broke. I thought he'd arrest you. That she'd leave. That maybe finally you'd see me. I trusted you with everything. And you gave her everything. Yuna pulled a knife. The same knife Miho had given her years ago for protection. Now pointed at him. She gets your love, your future, your child. What do I get? What do I get after years of loyalty? Freedom. Miho didn't flinch. Go. Disappear. If I see you again, I won't hesitate. The knife clattered to the floor. Yuna fled, broken. And Miho made his choice. He would dismantle his empire. Disappear with Precious and their baby. Build something clean from the ashes of his criminal life. But first, he needed to ensure Chike could never hurt them again. It took 3 days to arrange. 3 days of Precious believing him dead, grieving, planning to return to Lagos alone and pregnant. 3 days of Miho coordinating with Jean to feed evidence of Chike's illegal activities, the stalking, the assault, the attempted murder, to Chike's own Interpol superiors. When Miho finally appeared at Precious's door, alive, breathing, impossibly real, she stared at him for 15 seconds of pure silence. Then she slapped him. You let me think you were dead. I'm sorry. She kissed him. Hard. Desperate. Crying and laughing and hitting his chest all at once. You died. You were dead. I watched them call it. I was dead. For 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Miho pulled her close, his forehead against hers. And all I saw was you. You and our baby. A life I want more than I've ever wanted anything. Then take it. Take us. Leave all of this behind. I already have. Jin's handling the transition. My assets liquidated. New identities arranged. By tomorrow, Kong Miho will be officially dead, and we'll be whoever we want to be. And Chike? Interpol arrested him this morning. Turns out, trying to kill a foreign national on Korean soil while staging an execution tends to upset your superiors. He'll spend the next 20 years in prison. Precious sagged against him, relief and exhaustion and joy overwhelming her. Where do we go? Wherever you want. Lagos. London. New York. Somewhere warm where our daughter can grow up safe. Daughter? Miho's hand moved to her stomach. Just a feeling I had. While I was dead. 1 year later, in a small but beautiful apartment in Lagos, Precious finished her final medical school exam. She walked out of the testing center to find Miho waiting with their daughter Amara, 7 months old, perfect, with her mother's eyes and her father's smile. How'd it go, Dr. Alyawatami? Miho asked, shorter hair and softer expression making him almost unrecognizable from the ice-cold crime boss he'd been. I passed. Precious took their daughter, kissing her forehead. We did it, baby girl. Mama's officially a doctor. They walked home through Lagos streets, Miho's arm around Precious, Amara babbling happily. The life they'd built was small, quiet, nothing like the dangerous luxury of Seoul. But it was theirs. Honest. Real. That evening, while Amara slept and Precious cooked jollof rice, Miho played piano for the first time in years. The music filled their small apartment with something beautiful. I love this life, Precious said, swaying to the melody. I love you, Miho replied. Everything was perfect. Until the next morning, when a letter appeared under their door. No return address. Single line in Korean that made Miho's blood run cold. Debts are never truly paid. E. Precious picked it up, read the translation Miho gave her, and felt ice creep down her spine. Yuna. She found us. What do we do? Miho looked at his daughter sleeping peacefully in her crib. At Precious, the woman who'd saved him by loving him despite everything he'd been. At the life they'd built from ashes and second chances. We protect our family. Whatever it takes. He pulled Precious close, and they stood at the window watching Lagos wake up, knowing their past had finally caught up to them but refusing to let it destroy their future. Because some loves are worth fighting for. Some families are worth protecting. And some debts, the ones written in blood and sacrifice and resurrection, can never truly be paid. They would face whatever came next together. Just like they'd faced everything else. Survived. If you enjoyed this story of love, betrayal, and second chances, please subscribe to our channel for more unique AMBW stories that push boundaries and break hearts. Drop a comment telling us what you thought of Precious and Miho's journey. Did the ending surprise you? What do you think Yuna's planning? And smash that like button if you want to see more stories that dive deep into the darkness before finding the light. Your support means everything and helps us create more content like this. Thank you for watching, and remember, some debts are paid in love, others in blood, but the most powerful ones are paid in both. Until next time.